Hi guys, when I saw Brexiteer Isabel Oakeshott was appearing on a panel to talk about Brexit, I had my head in my hands. However, to make matters worse, Joe Swinson, the former leader of the Liberal Democrats, sort of reinforced the dumb take on Brexit that was presented by the Talk TV host. The idea that leaving the European Union isn't working well. Now, there were some adults in the room that talk sense, but the fact that a Lib Dem was talking about Brexit not being done correctly is utterly pathetic. Have a listen.
But just 13% of voters now say Brexit is one of the most important issues facing the country. This is according to research from UK and a Changing Europe, which is an academic think tank. And voters are now more likely to say they would vote to rejoin the EU than to stay out. How do you react to that, Isabel Oakeshott?
Well, I'd like to know who did the research. I think you mentioned at the beginning it is a pro-EU, I believe, organisation that did that. They're pretty favourable towards Remain. I also think that a lot of the polls were very wrong about opinion on Brexit before Brexit happened. I think if we restage the referendum, I mean, not only would it be a hideous and traumatic experience for all concerned, but I think you'd find opinion shifted in the course of that campaign very much as it did last time round.
I mean, there is a well-respected YouGov tracker which has for some time asked the question, has Brexit worked or has it not worked?
That's a different question.
And there's also a join-rejoin, and on both of those, has it worked? Going down, is it not working? Going up, rejoin, going up, stay out, going down. So there clearly has been, and people like John Curtis are saying that opinions are changing. That doesn't mean that they're sort of running to the door to have another referendum and rejoin, but the views about whether it's working is changing.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly reasonable. I mean, I'm not going to sit here as a staunch Brexiteer and say this thus far has been a fabulous success. It hasn't been done properly.
Are you surprised that the Lib Dems aren't making much more of this in this general election campaign, having said we're going to stop Brexit in 2019 under you?
I mean, I think it's a very different election campaign. You know, in 2019, we were still in the European Union and continuing that membership was an option. And we, gave people that choice in that election campaign and said, look, we're going to stand for this. It's, we're pro-European party. And, to be fair, people made that choice. And I think, we recognise that. Since then, we've had, a pandemic that has left our NHS in really difficult states. We've got war in Europe with the whole energy shocks and impact on cost of living. There's other issues, as you say. That very same poll that shows that there is much more positivity about the European Union, and indeed also maybe one thing after such a divisive set of discussions on Brexit, maybe the one thing we can all agree on now is that it's kind of not really being very well done and therefore not really working. But equally, there's not that appetite, as you say, to revisit that, and so that's why we're focusing on things that are going to make people's lives better, supporting the NHS and investing in care, and I think that makes perfect sense. Okay.
When the hell did Joe Swinson become a Tory? Can someone tell me the moment she became a member of the Conservative Party? Because that's exactly how she sounds. Let's talk about the pandemic, let's talk about the war in Ukraine, and nobody really wants to talk about Brexit. This is insane. She was the leader of the Liberal Democrats. The Liberal Democrats are supposed to be a pro-European party, and they're running in the opposite direction of rejoining the European Union. Let's not talk about Brexit. Let's talk about social care. Let's talk about the NHS. Okay, how are those two areas impacted by Brexit? So you're saying we need to have more carers, we need to have more people in the NHS. Yes, but Brexit has caused massive damage there. And you're running away from that. You want to ignore it. The worst thing that she said here was Brexit isn't working. Brexit is not designed to work. Brexit is like hitting yourself in the face with a frying pan. It's not designed to actually succeed at anything. Like, she's parroting Isabel Oakeshott's language. Well, Brexit isn't working correctly. Don't criticize Brexit, criticize the people implementing it. It's not designed to work. Tell me a type of Brexit that would succeed. Is there a Brexit out there? Maybe it goes to another school, but is there a Brexit out there that actually would work? What version of Brexit would actually be a success? Would actually be better than being a member of the European Union. Now, many people are talking about trying to undo the damage, looking for alternatives, to have something like a Swiss model or a Norwegian model. I don't think that's possible, but that's still worse than EU membership, because you're a rule taker, not a rule maker. Please, someone point out a positive aspect of Brexit, or if the Tories are not implementing Brexit correctly, what it should look like. Because this is, unfortunately, where we get to. You ask Brexiteers or people who pretend not to be Brexiteers, what would a good Brexit look like? And you hear nothing. They say the Tories are not implementing it correctly. How should they implement it? They should take advantage of the benefits. What benefits? This is insane. You know, you have a former leader of the Liberal Democrats talking like a member of the Conservative Party. Let's move on from Brexit. Let's talk about social care. Let's talk about the NHS. Have they been impacted by Brexit? Let's not talk about Brexit. You want to fix problems, but you want to ignore one of the core aspects of the problem. One of the causes. Like, how can you cure people if you don't look at the cause of the illness? I'm not saying everything is down to Brexit, of course not. The Tories have been in power for 14 years. They've imposed austerity. They've imposed cuts to public services. That's a massive issue as well. But ending freedom of movement, driving more and more people into poverty, taking away funding that would normally come from the EU for deprived areas, that all has a cost. That all has an impact. And by running away and ignoring it, you're not going to fix it. I really don't understand the Liberal Democrats' strategy here. Let's not talk about Brexit. I understand that Brexit itself is not something that's coming up on the doorstep. But in order to fix the problems people face, you need to challenge Brexit itself. You need to talk about undoing it. And it's quite simple. You explain to people, okay, the reason you can't get a GP appointment, the reason you're on a waiting list, the reason your business is struggling is because we left the European Union. Now, how are we going to fix that? We would like to have all the doctors and nurses that we had before. How do we fix that? Well, we can try and tinker around with visas. Well, that's not going to really cut it. Well, what we could do is we could try and undo Brexit. We get back into the European Union, back into the single market and the customs union. We do that, then we would be able to have freedom of movement. We'd be able to have the doctors and nurses that we need. Like, provide a solution, a real solution. Yes, it will take time, but you have to be honest with the public. Tap dancing around it won't work. It's deeply frustrating, really, because the Liberal Democrats, once again, are supposed to be a pro-European party, but they sound more like the Tories. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.